Good morning. Alchemy of Soldering. Here we are. It's 12 noon, although it always feels like it's first thing in the morning to me. Although, so here we go. I think we're on live. Let's see. If anybody's there, check it out. This is Alchemy of Soldering jewelry group. Here I am wearing my jewelry. I've got some of my pieces on this morning that I can afford to not have to work that hard this morning. I mean, physically. So I'm answering questions. I kind of just want to talk a little bit about my intimate setup right here. There's Christina. Good morning. Okay, so I actually just want to talk as people are arriving. I know it runs a little bit late. Hello. Okay, good. Brandy's here. And as people start arriving, this will be on record as well. So don't worry about it if you guys have to just pop in and pop out. There she is. Okay, so today actually is a question and answer, and I just want to talk a little bit about like my intimate setup here. You guys got a tour of my big studio, sitting areas, just kind of how I set up for my office and all of that type of stuff. So today definitely is question and answer. I'll have to pull in closer unless I have my magnifiers on. But I also, I thought before there were even questions. Oh, thank you. I've got on a couple pairs of earrings here. One of them, the big long ones that are going to Milan. The other ones are a shorter pair that will be in the sale with just a lot of gems in here. That's kind of behind here. It's nice to be able to wear a couple pairs. These are the ones that are done on the cuff that everybody asks me about, Here's part of a ring that I did in this Oaxacan style. All of my work is done with the butane torch, if anyone was questioning that. It's really kind of, hi, Kim, nice to see you. Hi, you guys, good morning. Yay, nice to see you from the UK. Thanks for joining me live. So this is good. This is my little section here. I have it up. This is my section where I spend a good portion of my day. This is my annealing area with all my tools. I guess I just kind of wanted to talk efficiency, a little bit of efficiency. And down here is my anvil. So you can see how close it is. You can see I have a little private section set up where I really do all of my granulation, all of my, I have all my shot plate right here. Yeah, that's in the picture. Right by my anvil, my torches, my favorite hammers that I use on a daily basis. I just love them. This is one of my very, very favorites. Here's the edge on here. I talk a lot about, I give a good description of a hammer in my book that I'm writing for the course. So let me make sure, I want to make sure. Oh, good, there we go. Debbie, good morning. Hi, Cecilia. Hi, everybody. Deb, good morning. So I guess, I'm just showing you guys a little glimpse of my real intimate area. And I do want to say, I've seen a lot of goldsmiths and working areas, so I'm not even going to be embarrassed. This is cleaned up. So, I have my jewelry sitting there, but this is cleaned up. I'm not going to be embarrassed. I had read years and years ago when I was wondering, about putting things away. Every time you put everything away and your place is nice and neat, you have a problem because you can't find it anymore and it's in the drawer. So I think, as a lot of us know, you have to have your pieces just laying around. I have seen goldsmiths who do beautiful work with their, with their workbenches so piled up, you're working in a tiny little corner. For me, it's like I was so excited when I found this pull-out drawer. I didn't know it was there for a couple of years that I had this table. Sometimes this place is so crowded, I'm working on a tiny edge. Or I start accumulating all gems that I want to work with, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get to all that in one lifetime. So that's kind of cool. Hey, you guys. So that's kind of, I just wanted to show you my intimate working area. This is really where I spend most of my time. I do all my annealing over here. It's not the prettiest. I use, my not very pretty pliers to pick things up. It doesn't matter. These are all my kind of secondary tools that I use in my work and all my wires. I know it's a bit of a mess, but all my wires. But so you certainly can do all of this fabulous work, even though your place, might be nice and full. And as long as, like, right here, this is my soldering area. When I was showing soldering the other day, I was like, you know what, I've probably had this annealing pan for, oh my gosh, 30 years possibly. It doesn't even, it's a little crooked. I was thinking, man, maybe just for photos I should get a new one. I always keep my tools here for soldering, usually my flux, any of my picks, my paintbrushes, tweezers, files, anything right here that I'm soldering with is immediate on my right hand side. All of my flux, I just keep very small containers because I spill mine a lot. Do you guys ever just spill your flux everywhere? So this is the most. I actually came in and watered it down today, but I usually keep, maybe a half an inch in there in a small container. I don't use that much. I'm about to refill. This is a nice container that was given to me. I just keep a few extra things that I need on hand, but I don't need exactly. Usually my torch is right here, but I didn't really want to block the view. So, this is really my working area here. All here is where I do all my soldering. So it's kind of interesting. Here's my intimate tools that I need. Any of my pliers are here. These are my intimate tools. These are my intimate tools. All these tools here are all secondary except for my jeweler saw. Isn't that a pretty jeweler saw? That one is so nice and easy to use. So is there anything you would do differently to organize differently? You know what? I feel like, yes, tools need to be functional. They don't need to be pretty. I feel like if I did things over, I usually redo my studio. Oops, I'm getting caught up in everything. I usually redo my studio in December. I find I have a nice break. In July, I have a nice break to breathe and to figure out what's next. How is my life? I feel like I'm always moving fluidly as a jeweler, as a designer, as an entrepreneur, as a, just all different ways in my work. So when I come home in November, usually when I used to teach, or, I usually in the fall is when my life gets calmer. So look at the cycles in your life is what I would say. And that's when I usually in October, I'll come in and I'll put a little WD-40 on all my tools, scrub them all up, polish, look at my studio, dust, get things cleaned up. This year I'm doing it a little bit late. I actually just switched out my my wheel on my jeweler's wheel. I put a nice new one on here. It's been really dusty in my studio. I don't know if you guys ever realize how much dust comes out of these things. So I'm trying to get it all warmed up, and things are a bit dusty in here. But so I always reorganize, but I usually wait about a year cycles, because I work in a certain way. So that's what I do differently, and I always organize differently. So for now, this is working for me. I'm doing all of this type of soldering work so sometimes if I'm doing cold join, I'm fixing up a different area in my studio where I spend more time. Does that make sense? Okay, so what did Kim say? Do you find that a stone guides you? Yes, and I know that probably for you. If you have an idea already in your mind when you begin to work on a piece, oh my gosh, I would absolutely say that stones and objects completely guide you. When I'm looking at a piece or thinking about a piece, it's like this one really needed to be long. It could be beautiful short, but it's like you kind of know where an object or a stone, I feel like there's such an energy in itself, and you know what parts of the body it's going to do better with, right? So that's kind of interesting. Yes, a stone definitely guides you in what you need to do with it. Right on. That's working intuitively. I love that. You got a new annealing pan for Christmas, Christina. That's awesome. Now you and we're going to have to find some time to get in our studios, right? You're working on sorting your space out for creative brilliance. Okay, so you know what then, Deb? One of the things you want to think about is feng shui. Isn't that interesting when you're working with your intimate studio? It's like feng shui. I actually am positioned where I can see my front door. So here's my view at all times, right there. You guys can see there's my front door, although I'm kind of have a little cove here. I can keep my eye on it. I keep my door shut. For Feng Shui, it's interesting. I mean, I know there's like a big thing of going, different areas are for prosperity or for friendliness or fun or all that. But the main part that I think of Feng Shui is that it really works, there were offices like Adidas and everyone that went over to China originally, and they set up their offices, and they had all the people with the back door there, so they wouldn't be distracted by people walking past. And the staff did horrible, and then they realized, oh my gosh, in China, you have to be able to. It's good Feng Shui to be able to see the door at all times, so you can rest assured no one's going to come in behind your back, right? Okay, so, oh, you love my bangles. I always do 18 gauge on my bangles. I've tried different sizes, different gauges, but 18 is good. 18 stays where where your piece isn't gonna bend at all. With 24 gauge, so these, you want bangles to be able to hold up and be able to be pinched in and hold up. So 18 is pretty good. Sometimes I'll use 14, but then it starts to get to be super heavy if you've got a big organized, organizational arm there. Here's some bangles that I was doing actually. If I do use a smaller gauge, this one actually is more of like a, let's see where these start and stop. I did these last night. Okay, so this is a tinier one. This is actually a lighter gauge. Why? Well, it's 18, but because it is so thin, I really need to support it with other bangles like this. So for me, I can't let a piece go out the door unless there's 3 of them combined, so they can be strong enough and structure in themselves. So these would be fun to wear too. Just a different look. So as you guys know, for me, there's always different reasons that you can use all things. You just have to change your technique up a little bit. Hey, Georgia, Leslie, nice to see you. I don't think I ever asked, but do you tumble your pieces as part of your finishing process? You know what? There's a lot of people that really do love to tumble. I have a huge tumbler. I have a commercial tumbler when I had my commercial line that I did before. See my commercial tumbler? I actually was thinking about it again. So I have a commercial tumbler and a small one. This one is way too big for, my smaller pieces. I do have these little ones here, although I have to replace the barrels. These were sitting for a while. When your barrels sit for a little while, you really have to make sure that they're clean. When they sit for a little while, part of the inside of them will come off, and you'll have like a black surface on there. So you have to put alcohol in. Actually, I used Coca-Cola to clean this one out because I hadn't used it in a couple years. I tumble sticks in there. I tumble, big projects or flat pieces. I don't tumble. I started using again for my final process. I really love the shine and this little bit of dirtiness. I call it a little dirtiness, but I really love the way it gives it such a richness when I polish with my jeweler's wheel. My jeweler's wheel has to get used to, I have to get used to it. They're dangerous at first, when they have, when you first put them on and they're new, they have excess muslin, and it wants to grab your piece and pull it. So you have to be very careful. I love the muslin wheel. I think because I've been doing this for so long, 30 years, that's how I started, so I'm just used to it. So that's what I do to clean my pieces. I think, I'm not exactly sure with tumbling. I've just done a little bit, but I like having my stones set in there. Totally with you on that, with stones. They really talk to you. That's why I love working with the stones. Oh my gosh. I so love objects and stones and shells. And when I first started with found objects, I found these objects were really calling me. They held these energies in there, and I could really understand the properties of these stones because I I can feel these. When I brought these gems home, I dreamt these stones. I ate these stones. I thought about these stones all the time, you know, in the shapes. I'm super excited because I have some more shapes coming in that are squares and triangles and like tear shapes. Oh my gosh, they're going to be so beautiful. I can't wait to get these in. So um, stones I love, you know, even the tiny ones. You can't overlook these little inexpensive tiny ones. I ordered a lot more of these too because these go such a long way in all your work. You know, look at how tiny this one is in a stacker ring, and it gives you a big effect. You know, it gives you the effect you need. I use big ones, but the tiny ones are super special too. Oh, I love sticks. How do you alter them? Hey, Deb, of course you love sticks. Well, I think you were in, I have a few sticks on this piece here. I was going to wear this one as a necklace today, but the sticks, just think of your sticks as wood. So if you think of your sticks as wood, you can, you know, that's part of the book that I wrote on making connections, because I work, when I get making connections out, I really start talking about how to use materials, all different materials in your work, you know, and objects. So you really want to think about them really just as wood. And what can you do with wood? You can drill them, you could wood burn them, drill them, wood burn them, put wraps through there. You know, anytime I have wraps in my work, they are, hi Connie, they are prayers that are woven into the piece. You know, so each one, you could set a bezel, you could set a stone on the bottom of it. You know, there's so many things. So if you just don't think of it as a stick, you know, I cap the end of it. I just have, you know, a cap to attach it here, but this is capped and attached. And I use a fiber wrap on here because for me, they're gonna hold up in time better. Let me see. Oh, here's one where I just, oh no, that one's just wrapped for no reason on the bottom. There's some that I drilled through, drew a bead on each side. So it's like when you're working with your materials, like, you know, the mastodon, this is mastodon. And, you know, how can you work with mastodon? I drilled through, I soldered, I attached, I riveted. You know, you can set it up any way. You just treat it as its bone. Make sense? Okay. What do you like about your saw compared to the original saw? Okay, I used the traditional saw. It was so inexpensive. I used this saw for so many years, so I was fine with this. When I started traveling and I was on the road, you know, these little ones are fine, but my work started getting really big, so I kind of jumped up to this next level. When I travel with these saws like this, I would get to my destination and my saw would sometimes be twisted, which made it super difficult. I feel like these need a little bit more oil, a little bit more attention. It's kind of nice because you could really change. Who needs to change the height, you know? Back when I was learning it in school, when you'd break your saw blade, you would literally reinsert it again and again. That's what this is really for. So that, can you imagine getting a little stub and sitting up there like this? But we did. You know, back when you're in college, you know, you don't really have the money for all those saw blades. Plus, you know, you're really talked to so much about don't break your saw blade. So this one, the height never changes because come on, if I break my saw blade, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage, you know? So this one is nice, it's sturdy. I feel like it doesn't twist at all. I can go straight up and down. I can lean exactly the way I like it. My hand is much more comfortable here. So it's a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more accuracy, and that's really it. I see a lot of people, there was like a new concept that looked really big and could be twisted easily. For me, you know, I'm gonna bring this saw to Morocco, I'm gonna bring it to India, I'm gonna bring it to Mexico, I'm gonna bring it when I travel, so if that makes sense. That's what I like about that. Okay, let me see. I wanna make sure I get everybody's questions today. See what is coming. Yay, good. Do you have some good new stuff, Deb? Is your studio part of my home? Mine is in my garage and a second in a front room in my house. My studio is separate in itself. For me, I've always had a separate studio, even if it was a little 10 by 10 space when I was younger. When I had kids, when my kids were young, I I was like, I just needed to separate. You know, for me, I'm an entrepreneur, as you guys know. You guys are artists or entrepreneur, or we're all doing things like this. This is my life, and this is the way that I have made my money through when I was in my 20s. You know, either building companies or doing my artwork or building my jewelry or building a product like you guys know I have done. And I need to know when I'm at home, I need to know I can relax and not show up for work, you know, and then when I'm here in my studio, I'm here to work, you know, I'm here. That's why I do have a couch where I can sit and do meetings. You know, once in a while I meet at home, but for me it's really important because I do a lot of work. Like I'm I'm an artist, I'm an entrepreneur, but this is my life. There's not a separation. You know, when I walk through life, I'm still an artist. I'm still getting ideas. I'm still working things through life. So I try to keep things separate for me. Right on. If you know, if you can make your studio into your house into your studio, you know, it's nice because if your kids are there, you can pop in and out really quickly. Oh, I think when I had my kids, I did work out of my garage because I was like, sometimes I just had 2 hours, you know, and I could get into my studio, do my work, and 10 minutes ahead of time, get back in, change my frame of mind, and be back with my family, you know? So I guess it's like whatever works for you, and there's no right way. Oh, you sit facing the water. Fantastic. Yes. Um, from Alchemy of Soldering, I started cutting my solder into small containers. When using the flux, makes it all messy and it okay, yes. And you know what? Didn't I put this tip in there? I think I had the tip. Maybe I'll try to pull this tip back out again. This is exactly what you do. You're reminding me. I thought this was in the Alchemy of Soldering. So what I do, see how nasty? Every morning when I come in, my solder is either stuck, so I just dip it into my flux, or into my pickle, nice and hot, fill it up, and I'm just gonna let it sit here for a couple minutes. It cleans all your solder, okay? And then what you're just gonna do is I stir it around with my copper, get it nice and clean. Maybe I'll ask Colin to dig this one up too. This is a really good tip. It just cleans your solder because pickle, we know, cleans all the debris off, right guys? So, looking real clean. Then what I do is I just dump this back in. You guys can see my area over here. And then I'm just gonna dump it into a quenching bowl of water. And guess what? Your solder's gonna, if you dump out slow, your solder will stick to the bottom. And maybe I'll do that twice. Sometimes I use the copper tongs with it. Just make sure it's nice and clean. But see, none of my solder spilled out. It's all in the bottom. So that's what you do to clean your solder. Usually I do that every morning. So when I come in the morning, I have my own routine. I come in, I turn on my pickle, there's my liver sulfur pot right here. Turn on my pickle, get my lights on, make sure my place is a little warmed up. In the winter, it's freezing cold here. Mondays, I water my plants, clean my solder. Today, I needed to come in and cut my solder, but I started working on other things first. So that's kind of what I do there. Make sense? Put some hot pickle into the container, helps. Yes, we had to do that in Mexico, yes. Oh my gosh, I got so much of the green. Susan is in a building that is home. Oh yes, okay, so I am. It's like, if you watch my studio tour, I come in my sliding front door. I have 1,100 square feet here. I even have a separate room. Connie just came in. We're getting ready to set things up. I have all the pieces here that she's looking for. So we're getting ready to set on my cookie trays. We're getting ready. We're gonna get these photographed. Her and I are photographing, and then we're getting this on the website for sales. These pieces. The sale is on the 13th. So I have a little room there that I really love. It's probably like a 40 by 20, I bet. And that's where we just have all the gems and the shipping, all the beautiful gems. So check it out if you guys haven't been there. I have some really beautiful gems on my site. I try to keep them to like $100 packages, but then I also just started putting them into bigger packages too, just to give you a nice variety. Oh, here's one of the pairs of earrings that I'm wearing that I love with the gems. And, you know, fossils. For me, it's always mixing fossils and gems together. So this is a lemon quartz. So I put all the qualities on there too. All of the gems, it's like, you know, the yellows, of course, it's a solar plexus, so it's going to give you strength, power, you know, just confidence is what the yellows are for. So, hey, I'm going to put them on when I show up to talk to you guys, right? Okay, let's see. Oops. Yeah, I have pickle in the crock pot. I have to fill mine. Usually what I do the night before, if my crock pot gets low, I let it be low, because in the morning I can just come in and pour hot water in, and then it heats up quicker. Otherwise I have to wait, you know, like 45 minutes before my pickle is ready in the morning. So I try to add extra hot water and let it burn out. I usually keep it on the low temperature. I probably had my pickle in there, oh my gosh, at Christmas time. Probably 2 months I had the same pickle in there. I just changed it out 2 days ago, so it's nice and clear. So when it starts taking a little bit longer, I hope I do a video on making a heart box charm. I actually got one right here. Did you guys see that? I know. Well, you know what? Listen, there's a whole section on boxing, you know, on boxes. We did a lot of different shapes in Mexico, but hollow forms, you know, that's a whole chapter, is hollow forms. Did you take that class? See if you, because that one's a good one, the hollow forms. Okay, let's see. Okay, a dropper full. A dropper full, I put in, well, you can tell me, up to you. Okay, so she gave the directions. How do I avoid fire scale? Do you mean when I'm soldering, how do I avoid fire scale? Oh, you know what? Really interesting. Your copper is always going to give you fire scale. The flux keeps fire scale away. So when you're soldering, you have to have flux on there, or you won't be able to solder your sterling silver very nicely. You could always work with fine silver. When you work with fine silver, you don't have to use flux because it just solders. You don't have fire scale. Fire scale is caused from copper. So anytime there's copper in a material, you're going to get fire scale. So don't be afraid of fire scale, because you can always you know, you can always pickle things in between. You can always put flux on there. The flux seals it like a glass. Also, when I was my buddy, I was out at his studio. I got to really work for a couple months. It was so much fun out there, because I know I talk about that story where we were melting down coins and just building whatever we wanted to. And when we built with the coins, we actually mixed, we didn't mix a sterling silver, we mixed a higher silver content. So it was strong enough. It had the copper in there, but it had a little bit more silver, so it stayed cleaner. I loved it. It stayed cleaner. I wouldn't have to pickle. I could go in 3-4 times to solder before I had to pickle. Does that make sense? So the higher your silver content, so if you do mix your own, it'd be nice with a little higher silver content. I was thinking about that myself, not just a 97.98, 98. Okay, I've been talking about, oh, thank you, Christina. Christina's answering for you guys. Thanks for reviewing the sticks. How do you add the balled end wire to the twigs without burning them? Okay, so think about this, Barbara. You know, you're always like thinking of your material. Actually, I just did it with these pieces here too. I just drew a bead up next to here. You know, this is actually in the book, Making Connections, and the same with the twigs, okay? How did I draw a bead up next to here? You know what I did? I dunked my fiber or a stick into cold, clean water, because now it is a wet wash rag, pretty much. And then I could drive it through and draw a bead on the side, and this isn't going to be damaged. Does that make sense? Same with the sticks. You have to really, you know, I know it's in my studio, it's in the winter time. I can drill through my sticks. If it does get burned, you just sand it off. It's a stick. It's not going to get burned all the way through. I used to fight forest fires, and we would find the whole outside would have like an inch, you know, these big trees, the whole outside would have an inch of charcoal, and then the inside would be beautiful and fresh and alive. So isn't that interesting? Okay. How do you attach objects to a large leather on the necklace? I just did that now. How do I attach objects to a large leather on the necklace? Ooh. I'm putting together a piece right now. Is this what you're talking about, the leather? I actually am putting together a piece right now. Let me get this off here. Hang on a second. Put this back. Connie, I have all this stuff here, by the way. So here's what I did here. This is the top of a piece. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can take that right now. Come on in the picture. Everybody wants to see you anyway. God, don't you guys want to see Connie? Okay, so here's my piece. This is going to sit up around the neck, and it's the beginning of it. So I built this, I built this piece right here. It's all soldered and attached, and I did it by drawing a bead through here. Ta-da! So that's what I'm doing. I have a lot of cleanup and a lot more work to do. I'm putting some links on here, so this will be a little while. Reloading your screen. Do you make your own casting grain for your bangles? Yes, I do. So sometimes on here I do the decorative. I've got a whole little cup of it. Hey, sweetie, come say hi. Here's Connie, you guys. Connie, that's our... She's here to do the stitching. She's in that little room in the back. It's nice when she comes in, because... Okay, so see, I have like cups full. Mine don't have to be exact. I love it. There are times where I love using the shot plate with mine. So I kind of have them sized up, different sizes, sitting on the edge of my bench. I've got some large ones in there. I'm kind of liking the smaller ones lately, but, and then I have all my wire made. And when I get in, I'm using different sizes. So yes, I do make all my own casting grain. If you want to buy casting grain, you can buy, I just like different sizes on mine. So I pick my sizes. For my one-of-a-kind work, I'm doing one-of-a-kind work right now. So I'm really, when I'm really picking and choosing and doing things carefully and building with intention. These all are the same size. So literally I'm going in. These would be fine for me maybe in the future to purchase casting grain, but I just measure out a wire, a round wire, and just measure it off in increments and cut so they all are the same size. But I might start ordering them in. You certainly can. I love the artwork on your walls. Oh my gosh, yes, it helps me get in the mood. This one, it's like I really have. This is my life, this is my wall, this is me. So when I walk in, it just feels like me, it's pieces and parts from my life, from my travels, from people I've met, from colors that I love, So for me, it's really important to have exactly what I want in my studio. And, really it's like this place, my little working area maybe isn't, it does get crowded, it maybe isn't the most beautiful, but I love all my other areas to kind of be clean. You guys like this little railroad cart? We've got a beautiful, we've got all these industrial places here, and this is where I did a lot of my photography. I'll show you. We have all these industrial places here, and can't really see it that well, but we've got all these industrial places here, so you can go in. I think it's called C&L Industrial, and you can find railroad carts, and I actually got this baker's tray back here, and those silver drawers in the back. There's all kinds of really cool stuff like that. So it's kind of fun to go into different states. Here in Cleveland, Chicago, the whole Industrial Revolution is when these areas were big. So, I'm in an old industrial building, so that's kind of cool. Okay, let me see. Yeah, Module 5 hollow form, there she goes. It's on that one there. I don't use argentium, only because I do have argentium. Some people love argentium. For me, I think, as you guys know, I poke and prod my pieces sometimes when I'm soldering. I do a lot of poking and prodding and moving, and Argentium doesn't hold up well to that. When you touch it, when it's hot, it could crumble on you, you know. So I love sterling silver. I love the copper in sterling silver. So, um, oh, not this big leather choker. Some of them Shady. I finally got down to it. Not this big leather, like the one I'm wearing, you're saying. Okay, the one I'm wearing, which is kind of the same. The one I'm wearing is, I'll just slide it around to the front. I just use a little bit of glue inside here. Okay, see? I just glue the ends. Why should I? You know, this is a round, I'm using like 2 or 3 wires through here and you can't draw a bead. So this is with E6000. There is a chapter that I write about. There's a chapter on glue that I write about. You know, if you're gonna, and it's all about the E6000. If you're gonna use a little bit of glue, I use it for these. I use it for hanging crystals. You know, when you don't really, it's a smooth crystal and you can't get a bezel up around it, you have to put a little E6000 in there. And I talk all about how and why. The reason you don't want to use glues other than E6000 is like a rubber. I could literally, if I had to resolder or repair this piece, I could pull it apart by just using a lot of pressure and have, you know, be able to get in there. I could pull it out of there. It's like rubber cement, you know, you can pull all the glue out of there and then you're in good shape again, you know, so that's the glue. But listen, there's a whole section that I talk about E6000 and the glues and all of that. So I saw Christine ask Colin to pull that out. So that's coming up. You'll see that. Did I say the other day that making connections? But yay, we are. So that's next on the plate, you guys. So right now we're kind of, you know, with Christine and I, we're getting intentional metalsmithing book finished. I'm getting this jewelry sale on February 13th, and I'm getting Milan pieces done. And off to Milan. I've got the dance performance done. I got the modeling done, and then the model photos with the jewelry done. And then we're doing a remake of Making Connections that's really relevant, you know, really relevant now. That's going to be well priced. I think sometimes, oh my gosh, Making Connections is like $800, you know, but which I'm always complimented about, believe me. But then also I'm going to be starting a more advanced mentoring program, you know, or mentoring membership. So it'll be a membership where, you know, I'm come in and talk, because I'm going to be doing some of this type of stuff, but mostly I'm going to open up a membership where people can come in. We'll have our own group, and I'm going to be talking and stretching and, you know, talking about creativity and really doing exercises and things like that. So look for that. I think that's more about Making Connections, and the membership is we have pegged for April, early April. So are you making your own tubes for attaching the leather? Oh, I make everything myself and then I cast them. If you look at pieces that, you know, I love these. So I definitely, you know, I want my pieces to be unique. So when someone looks at my work, they're like, oh my gosh, okay, I bet this is an SLK piece. So anytime you can put your own hands into your work and your work is more and more recognizable, you're in better shape. So really, that's my advice all the way around, is when you can, make your own pieces. So I used to try to find, you know, when I had Industrial Chic, that line, I, you know, was making some myself because the commercial pieces were, they, you know, they're decorative, there's stamps on there, they're not distinctive, and if someone else can pick that up and use it, it's making it farther away from being my own work. Get it? So I would rather use even a simple, like this one, you know, I would rather even use just a simple cap than use such a decorative cap that isn't recognized as my own, right? Okay. How do I make my casting grain? That is in the last chapter. So the last chapter is kind of pulling things together, using your scraps. So that one is about, you know, all the shot plate, how to press it through the shot plate, how to make your own casting grain, how to use your scraps in your work, how to, oh my gosh, that one is a pretty cool chapter because it really wraps up the whole the whole chapter. It's really beautiful. I think you'll like that. So check that one out. Love my hair. Thank you. Oh my God, Susie, I haven't seen you forever. There's my good friend Susie. Hi, Suze. We've been talking about you. Susan Niebler is on, Connie. Did you did you get to see Connie? She's here. Um, I'm practicing in copper because I have it on hand. Are there any safety concerns with the fumes I should be aware of? Okay, the only safety concerns with copper is that when I am soldering with my sterling silver, copper lifts out and it will be if you don't use good ventilation, silversmiths have a tendency to have excess metal copper in their body because you're breathing it in. So I use, just like a good fan right now. I have this is a real airy place. I've got real high ceilings. Butane, as I was talking about last time, the butane gas sinks. You don't have to worry about it being toxic or being bothered by breathing it in. Butane gas sinks, and so you're not breathing it in. It's going downward. So you're actually much safer, which is why this is good in a home studio, in a small studio. I used to have my acetylene tanks that I have right here. I use my acetylene all the time, and I would wear a mask, like an inhaler or one of those really big major masks. But the alarms would still go off for the people upstairs. They were getting carbon monoxide, so their carbon monoxide alarms would go off upstairs because you're literally burning through the oxygen at a quicker pace. So that's why I'm suggesting the butane torch to start with, or if you're in a home studio, because this one is so much kinder on your health. It doesn't get that as hot. That's why I show you a whole series of working with screens. Make sense? Okay, I have some of my art from childhood in my studio. My first oil painting, done at age 5 with your grandfather. That's a talisman, girl. So that is a talisman. When you walk in and you see work and it brings love from someone you love, that is a talisman. And bring that into your work, So now how do you get those talisman into your work, into your jewelry that makes you feel good when you walk around in the world? Is that leather? Yes, I love leather. I use a lot of leather. This is leather that I have hand stitched and tied on. And this one has the fur on here. Why not? I mean, I eat a little bit of steak once in a while, so I don't know. I'm vegan until I'm eating steak. So, the huge choker from Milan. All right, I'll go grab that one. Okay, I do too. Okay, let me grab the big one from Milan. That's the one she wants to see. Okay, so this one, this is the piece she's talking about, the big one from Milan. These are all my sticks that are altered in so many different ways. Everything on here, all my colors, as you guys can see. And this is the same kind of leather as the little one, see? And the way that I have the back done, I have this hooked up on a piece to hold the frame in place. And this one is done in the back with the chain, because I love these chains, and it's open. You can tie it, but the ties aren't going to hold up that well. So this part will drape down your back, but I have, I've attached really strong. You have to make sure that your stitching is super strong because it's holding up a whole piece like that, So for me, my attachments, which is all about making connections, I talk all about attachments. When I did ethnographic jewelry, as I talk about, repair, I did ethnographic jewelry repair for years, and I really got to see what pieces held up in time, what pieces, how they were attached, and how they held up in time. And that was, really interesting. Last summer, I had this ethnographic jewelry group contact me to do some repairs, which was really fun to see again. Okay, let's see. You already answered this. You use wire. Okay. Is your sale? My sale is on the 13th. Hey, Fran, nice to see you. My sale's on the 13th. Yay! Hi, everyone. Stacy, nice to see you. Okay. Recommended for a place to cast. I actually haven't. That's something. Just look up. There's a lot of casting places around that can cast. You can even take a class in casting your own work. Um, some leather chokers for the sale. Oh my gosh, I know. That'd be amazing. Okay, Christina put that up. Hi, Connie, Susan says. Thanks, Susan, and hi, Connie. So Sherry says hi to you. Sherry Donahue. Okay, let's see what happened. Okay, there it goes. Is your saw vintage? No, this is the Green Lion is my saw. I usually don't use vintage because I feel like when people are redoing things now, they're going to be better than ancient pieces. Does that make sense? It's kind of for what we need right now, saws or hammers or things that were done. This is my old, oh my God, I love this. This is a blacksmithing hammer. Oh, I so love it. But the way that the height is, the way you can see it's just worn in from holding it, but this one is completely different. The ergonomics is much different than this one, and this is a brand new one. So it's like, I love that, nowadays people are thinking of weight, shape, form. This one has a beautiful place to put my hand. This one's raw and was done that way. That's what people had back then, So, so that was life. So I usually don't use vintage. You have to be very careful of your arms. I do there's a 3-part series on ergonomics where I talk about, I've been doing jewelry for 30, 35 years. I don't know, 30 years, I can't remember. And my arms are in good shape by exercises, by breathing, by holding tools right, by standing in front of my anvil the right way. It's like when I wearing shoes that work for me properly. I'll show you the shoes you guys have to see my shoes that I have on right now. Oh my gosh, these are really, and I did yoga today so I could hold my leg up. I probably can't even do it without holding on, but these actually are so comfortable when I wear something like this. I go home at the end of the day, I'm the right height for all my pieces, and I feel amazing. Okay, so we're opening up the modules next Friday. So if anyone is interested in taking the classes, next Friday we're opening them up. You guys are welcome to, you guys can take any one of them, or, there's different batches that are together. Love hair on leather. I'm lucky to have the local leather shop that is remnants. Yay! Sherry, where are you living again? You're like out north, aren't you? Picked up a variety of types of leather. Nice. It's a great class, these modules. Well worth your time and money. Thank you, Carly. Thank you. Yes, there's a lot of new people coming in, and there was a lot of people that were asking about just taking modules 1 or 2 at a time without the whole mentoring. I'm always going to be on the Alchemy of Soldering, and I'll be answering questions with anyone taking these modules, just so you guys know. Cool boots. They look, see? I know. Remember those shoes? I've got 2 of them that I'm looking at right now. You showed me some shoes, Sherry. So a pair of sandals and a pair of boots, and I'm like, oh, they're both on hold. You're in Portland. That's right. There's a leather company in Old Town. I bet you could find a good recycled. Yeah, you're using like the recycled too, so that's cool. So is there any other questions? I think I want to make sure Christina has to go to work, and it's been about almost 50 minutes. How did time go so quickly? All right, well, this is going to be it, you guys. You guys have a wonderful day. Enjoy yourself building. I'll see you guys on Monday. Monday, I want to show you guys all my toolkit, the inexpensive toolkit that I can use to build all my jewelry, my case that I bought out in Mexico, my leather case, that just how everything fits efficiently into one space, and I'll go through the tools with you guys again. Make sense? And then Wednesday is the second part of the stackers, ring stackers for the bezels, okay? All right, so if you guys are looking for some gems, get onto my Shopify. I do have some gems. I'm gonna have a lot more on the 13th, but I do have some beautiful gems on there right now. Thanks for everything, you guys. Thank you.